Hey friends, I'm Patrick God and welcome to this complete minimal API tutorial. What do I mean by complete? Well, we cover all the CRUD operations, meaning create, read, update, and delete by using the HTTP request methods get, post, put, and delete. Of course, there are more, but with these four, I think that was a rhyme. Nice. With these four, you can, in essence, do everything you want, right? You read the title, so you already know what this tutorial is about. Minimal API with .NET 6. It is not the typical or the old school way. Is it really old school? Tell me that in the comments. I still think that using controllers is a great idea because maybe it's a bit more organized. If you then also inject services, then it's even better. You can see this, by the way, in this tutorial here. And that's in essence already it. There's not more to say about that. So we cover all the CRUD operations and we use Visual Studio 2022 for that. But maybe this is important. We also cover the database, right? So we will use Entity Framework Core to put and store our data persistently in a SQL Server Express database. We will do all that with code first migration. So everything is covered in this little tutorial. It is really short. I think it was under an hour. Already recorded this now during the intro. And if you learned something and really like the tutorial, I would really appreciate it if you give me a thumbs up, maybe even subscribe to the channel. Don't forget the bell icon. It does make a difference. Thank you so much for that. Really means a lot to me. And additionally, maybe you want to check out my newsletter because then you would get this video here earlier in your inbox. And apart from that, also some other information. Maybe also, not maybe, you will get early access to my upcoming .NET 6 and Blazor developer online course. This will be big. It is in its early stages and this one is focused on really getting a job in this industry. So we will not only build an application, or we will build several applications actually, but we will not focus only on that. We will also focus on interview questions, Scrum, so this agile stuff, maybe also a bit DevOps. So the whole package you need when you say, okay, I love writing code with C# and .NET and even Blazor maybe, and I want to get paid for that. I want a job. So maybe this course is something for you. So please check out my newsletter. And the last thing, last not least, really, thank you so much for all the coffee. As you will see in this tutorial, it was late, so I need more coffee because I put my baby boy, not baby boy, he's a toddler, he's almost 2 years old, but well, it's not getting easier. I'll tell you that. So coffee is amazing. I turn coffee into code and also in these online coding tutorials. So yeah, thank you very much. And now I stop talking and enjoy the tutorial. All right, we've got Visual Studio 2022 here. We create a new project and now we create a web API, not a Blazor app, not a web app. We create a web API here. And if you don't find it here in your recent project templates, then please look for them or for it here, like web API. And then make sure not to use the F# version here. Sometimes I was as well confused. Why do we see two entries here? Well, F# and C#. So make sure to use the C# one. If you want, you can use F# as well, but then maybe this tutorial doesn't make sense for you. Anyways, we click next and then say, I don't know, minimal API tutorial. All right, .NET 6, that's correct. And now make sure uncheck this little checkbox here. We don't want to use controllers. I've got a great tutorial, I think, for that. So please check out the info card. But now this is a minimal API, so they say it here already. Uncheck to use minimal APIs, whether to use minimal APIs instead of controllers. Okay, so this is really important. Please do that, and then we can create our minimal web API. And you see, if you already know the web API project, for instance, or the typical web API project with controllers, this is really tiny. There's nothing in here in essence. We just have our program CS. So this is really the focus here is creating microservices, something like that, and just have one file maybe where you put in all your logic. I don't really like this, to be honest. As you can see here, they've got a class, or now in C#10 you can also use records, of course, for the weather forecast model. I will do this a bit differently. I will add another model here, well, at root level. Of course, you can add folders and so on. That's still possible, but the idea behind all this is that you've got all your logic in just one file. And I'm always honest with you guys, but you can see that this looks a lot sometimes like Node.js or Express.js, and I don't like it. I'm not the biggest fan of the let's say the kind of writing code like that, right? So you have your map get function, and this is in essence already the example application. And I wanna show you this first. So we've got the registration of all this stuff. This is the usual stuff regarding also a web API with controllers. We have middleware here, like use HTTPS redirection and so on. We've got the Swagger stuff covered here, so I will show you Swagger here in a second. But then we have our summaries here, so our fields are here, and then we've got our app run here to run the API. I already told you we've got our model here, and also this function. So usually we would see a controller here with the function there. Then in essence, so what you know this, a public async task and so on. I could open another one. If you want a comparison video, please tell me that in the comments. I would love to do that, but maybe not now. Maybe here, let's focus on the minimal API. But please, really, if you want a comparison video between a minimal API and a normal or old school web API with controllers and maybe even services where we then use dependency injection, please tell me that in the comments. And if I get a couple of comments about that, then of course, for you guys, I will make another video here where we compare then the minimal API with a typical web API with controllers. But again, we've got this function here, and this is everything you need. We've got app.mapGet, and then the routes in essence /weather forecast. If we need some objects here, then we would add them here. Otherwise, this is the lambda expression you see. Here's then the complete logic. And I would say we start this here first before we implement our own logic, and it's already here on my other screen. And as you can see, minimal API tutorial, this is now Swagger. And if you're wondering why we get to this page here, let's have a quick look at the launch settings. I think there it should be launch URL Swagger. All right, so this is why we land on the Swagger UI, Swagger index HTML, index HTML. Here it is, and this is, or yeah, here it is. That's one, and this is why we land here. I hope that's not total BS what I'm telling you now, but this should be the reason. And we see here, this is the call, and we can already test this. We can see the example values that are expected, and we see that because this function returns an enumerable, here the enumerable of weather forecasts. And that's why we can see the example value here, and we can test this with try it out, execute, and then you see the URL, right? So this /weather forecast is this thing here, and then we get all our results. Okay, but now let's build this from the ground up by ourselves. And what we do here, if you know my other tutorials, I'm a big fan of superheroes, and that's why we also built a minimal superhero database here. It's really minimal. No relationships in here. Again, I've got other videos for that. Please have a look and maybe check out the info cards. And then you can build a bit bigger superhero APIs with relationships and so on. But here it is, well, it's a minimal API, so let's also build a minimal database. Now what we can do is actually, we can remove this stuff here. Let's really go minimal, right? So we remove everything. So this is the rest of the code. And for instance, if you just want to test this with one tiny get method, what you can do is app map, not nap, a nap would be nice, the map get, and then / almost / okay, now I'm thinking about the nap the whole time. And then here we got welcome to the superhero database, and you won't believe it, guys, but it is Valentine's Day today. So we add a little heart here. Okay, I think that's it. Yeah, we save this and we say, yeah, rebuild and apply changes. What's this? Some Unicode characters in this way could not be saved. Oh, come on, really? Yes. Okay. Okay, close this. What is going on here? Let's restart the app and let's see. Where is it? There it is. There it is. A string is an example value. Okay, so we just return this here. And now let's try this. Hit execute. There it is. This is our little message. Welcome to the superhero database with a cute little heart here. This looks so nice. Reminds me of old browser games again. I really love games. If you don't know, I was actually working for a computer game developer, Limbic Entertainment, and I already built my own indie game. If you want to know more about that, again, please check out or write it down in the comments, and then I will tell you something about that. But this should not be the topic for today. We want to build a minimal API, and this is already the minimal stuff, right? So you can really see, and if you know JavaScript and Express.js a little bit, you know, okay, this looks really similar. But anyways, now let's build our little superhero database. We have to write some boilerplate code because I also want to cover this this database stuff with Entity Framework Core here. So this is not just using some mock data. We will use a SQL Server Express database. But first, to be able to do that, we add a new model. And you know what? Let's close the app first. We just close this window, and then we should not get any strange messages or notifications. Now right click and add a new class, and this should be now our superhero, and it gets first an ID, then we add a first name. Almost, the E is missing. String empty, okay. And then we also add the last name and the hero name, and of course we could add some more stuff. Again, in my other tutorials I add a comic then, so we get the relationship to comics. That would be another model, but let's do this a bit quicker today. So this is our minimal superhero model, and now to be able to use the database, we already have to add NuGet packages for Entity Framework, because then we are able to use this model for our code first migration. So right click the project file and then say manage NuGet packages. And there is a little bit we have to enter. It's actually called Entity Framework, Microsoft Entity Framework Core. This is the first one. So please install this little package here. Download it over 350 million times. Then we need Entity Framework Design Entity. I need more coffee, really. Entity Framework Core Design. This should be the one. There it is. All right, install this one. Okay, and now SQL Server, because we use SQL Server here. If you want to use something else like SQLite, for instance, there is also a package called SQLite. See that? That's the one. In this case, you would use this here. Okay, but with that, now we should have all our packages, core design and SQL Server. Great. So this is what we need. And now we need also the Entity Framework Core tool. So I've got it installed already, of course, but if you don't, then pay close attention now. .NET tool. In the Package Manager console, you can open it with View, Other Windows, and then Package Manager console. And now we enter .NET Tool, install -- global, and then .NET -ef. Okay, now it's telling me it's already installed. That's correct. But what I can do is I can uninstall it. It's pretty fast. And now I can install it again. And there we are. 6.0.2 is the current version. And to double check, you can just enter .NET and then EF, not with a dash, without, just .NET space EF. And then you see this is the version of EF Core. And now the last thing you need, if you want to use SQL Server, Google for it, please. And as you can see, it's really Valentine's Day. So that's why we see all these hearts here. And if you Google for SQL Server Express, for instance, you see the first hit here. Just scroll a bit down. Express, that's the one. And the other thing I want to show you is SQL Server Management Studio. You can again just Google for it, or at the end of the installation of SQL Server Express. Everything's totally free, by the way, so you can totally use it. You also see a link to, or a button, something like that, for SQL Server Management Studio. You don't need this. You can use Visual Studio to manage your database, but I like this tool actually, and you will see this in this tutorial as well. Okay, and with all that, you're covered. Next thing now we need is the connection string, and we add this thing in the app settings JSON file. So just go here and add connection strings, and there is already something prepared for us. We call this default connection. And now if you're using SQL Server Express and you're using it on your local machine, you enter server, localhost, then SQL Express, then the database name, let's call it this time minimal DB, for instance, and or minimal API. No, DB, let's call it DB, minimal DB, and also trusted connection is true. So this is our connection string, and with that, Entity Framework knows where the database is, right? So when we now use code first migration, then Entity Framework will build and update our database there, and also when we want to get the data, we get it then with this little help here. So server is localhost / SQL Express. Database is called minimal DB. Of course, you can choose another name. And then trusted connection set to true. All right, and that's already the connection string. And now we need the data context. And there are tutorials out there, I think even by Microsoft itself, where again they say, hey, we've got a minimal API, so let's put everything in this little file. You can do that, but I don't want to do that, so I add a new file and call this thing DataContext, and we need this context to access our database. Now in here we need a constructor, so you can enter CTOR, double tap for the built-in snippet, and this thing needs a DbContext options parameter of type DataContext. What about the nab, right? Options, and we need the base constructor here, options, and we need a reference to Entity Framework core. Let's add the global keyword because the program CS needs that as well. And what's going on here? I think I have to implement the, yeah. This is an abstract class we need here as well. So now this works. And last thing we need to add here is our superheroes table. We do it like that. So public, this is a DB set of type superhero. We call this superheroes, and this is a set of superhero, and with that then we know, or Entity Framework knows, that we want to create a table that is called superheroes for our superhero entity. So usually you just pluralize the model name, and with that then you get your superheroes database table. Okay, next thing, registering the data context. If you know the typical web API, you'll see that there are similar steps necessary here. We can do this up here with builder services, and then we say add DbContext, and for that we want to use our data context. We need another reference here. Okay, and this thing gets some options again. So options, and here now we configure our context by using SQL Server. So options SQL Server, And then we need our connection string here. So builder configuration, get connection string. And the name of the connection string was default connection. Like that. Okay, let's see. Yep, that's the one. And there is a parenthesis missing. And this should be it. We don't need this here. That's it. Yeah, okay. So this is the boilerplate code now for all the database stuff, in essence, with Entity Framework Core and SQL Server. And now we can already run our migration, meaning putting this superhero model to the database or add it to the database. And with that, you see it here still, there are the commands. These are the available commands for Entity Framework, Database, DbContext, and Migrations. We only need Migrations and Database. And let me show you how this works. So with .NET-EF migration, come on, is it that late already? Migrations at initial, we add another migration. And then we see that no projects were found. And why is that? We're in the wrong directory. So we have to change the directory to minimal API tutorial. And when we try this again now, it should work. Without an error, I hope. So let's see. We'll start it. Oh, it's so exciting. No DbContext was found in assembly minimal. Ensure that you're using the correct assembly. Okay. What did I do wrong? DataContext, DbContext. Oh, I did not save the file. Okay. Third time. Build succeeded. Thank you so much, Entity Framework. Okay, so now we've got a migration, and you see we've got a new folder for that. Migrations, here you see the date and the time. Well, that's actually not the correct time. It's 1 hour earlier than it really is. Okay, why not? And here we see that we get two methods, up and down. And in the up method, meaning if we really want to use this migration, we have to actually update the database to do that. We create the superheroes table with some columns here. This is our primary key. You can see that here, the ID column. And if we want to revert all this, then we just drop the superheroes table. Looks good to me. So let's say .NET-EF database update. And yes, we do not have the database yet, but still we need the update command to, you see it here, add the table. Where's the create command? There it is, create database, create table, and so on. And now if we fire up Management Studio, already did that. You see some older databases here. For instance, the Blazor e-commerce database, really interesting. I just released a course about that. So maybe if you want, check it out. There's also a almost 4-hour preview here available on YouTube. Check out the info card, please. But if you now refresh Management Studio, we see our minimal database. Isn't that nice? With one table, well, two tables, but this is Entity Framework core stuff. We don't need that. But here regarding the superheroes, we've got our empty table. Nice. Okay. So with that, we've got the database covered. And now, since this is a minimal API, let's just implement all the CRUD operations already in the program CS. All right. So the first one is getting all the heroes. App map get. Now the URL for that is just superheroes. If you're wondering, again, you maybe used the old school web API. Old school is not really correct. I really like the other web API method using controller. So it's, in my opinion, it's not really old school. It's a good way to do this. So if you are using controllers, let's just say if you are using controllers and generating API controllers here in Visual Studio 2022, maybe you're used to this little route here. They add this /API. Of course, you can still do that here as well. So this is totally up to you. You can use anything you want here, but you see we do not have a controller, right? So again, when we use a controller in the other way to implement all that, we see something like this in our route. In the brackets here, you see the controller term. This means this is the name of the controller, but this is not the way you do that here because there is no controller. So again, maybe a comparison video would make sense here. Superheroes, okay, or maybe just superhero. Superhero is also okay, I think. So with that, we've got our route, and then we add a little method where we need the data context, and in essence we inject it like that now. So async data context, and that's in essence everything we need here. And with this little lambda expression, we can say we want context superheroes to list async, right? So with that one little line, or maybe 2 lines, we've got our super get method for all the superheroes. I won't test it now. Let's test it later when I wrote everything with lots of errors, and then we'll see if this really works like that. One more thing, I think I did not mention this. You see there's no return, right? You just say await context superheroes. So in here for now, we don't use the return keyword, but we have to do that a bit later when we, for instance, create a superhero with the post commands, because then I want to return all the heroes, and yeah, for that it will look a bit different. All right, and now getting a single superhero looks pretty similar. Map get superhero, but now we need the ID here. So in curly braces, we add this parameter here, and then we say async, again the data context, and then the ID like that. And then in a new line, we say await context superheroes, find async with the given ID. And now we want to check, is this superhero now, is the result null, or is there really a superhero? And for that we can do something like that, is superhero hero. So if we got a hero object here, then this is the ternary operator that is used here. But if we do that, we say results okay, so we return results okay, and then hero. So this is also different. This results object here, what does it say? A factory for I result. Well, not much information here, but this is what you want to return if you want to return, for instance, a status code 200 with the in the other way. When you use the controller, you just return okay hero. So this is an I action result in essence, but now here this is the factory for just the result. Hope you get the idea. Okay, but if this is not the case, so if we do not get a hero, wait, let's do it like that. Here's the question mark, here's the one result, and now if it is null, then we return results not found with a little message, sorry, hero not found. Okay, and this is already our get method if we add the last parenthesis. Now creating a hero, so app, this is the HTTP method post, so map post, again superhero, and here now we add async data context and the superhero object. If you want to use a DTO here, a data transfer object, you can use this of course as well, but we just use our entity here, our superhero model. And now let's add curly braces because we've got a bit more logic here. And what we want to do is we say context superheroes add hero, and then await context save changes async. With that, then the hero is really stored persistently in the database. And then now you see the return with results okay. Now I want to actually return all the heroes. Maybe we can write a method for that. So let's put this here, and maybe this is also an interesting information. You can also add just any other method here if you want. So async task list superhero, and we call this get all heroes with the data context, and this just returns await context superheroes get to list async. Okay, put this in a new line like that. Wait. Okay, so with that we get our method. What's saying here in the local function get all heroes declared never used. Yeah, but in a sec we will use it. So in here now we call await get all heroes with our context. Okay, so this would be the post. We add a superhero, save the changes, and then we return all heroes again. So we see, is it really stored in the database, because we sent all heroes back that are currently available in the database. All right, and we also do the same after updating and deleting a hero. So I think this method is quite useful here. So with that, we've got the create or the post covered, and now there are only two methods left. Let's update one. Map put would be the right method here, or put is the right HTTP method here. Again, the route is superhero with an ID. Not really necessary here actually, because we sent the object, but let's do it anyways. So async data context, we have our superhero. Well, if you would use the DTO, maybe there is no ID there, then the ID makes sense again here as a parameter. And now with that we say in curly braces again, and let's also close this here. Then we say our database hero is awaits context superheroes find async. Now if the database hero is null, again, then we just return results not found, again with no hero found maybe. And otherwise we say not context. First we change the hero, so db hero first name is hero first name, db hero last name is hero last name, and db hero name is the hero name. And then we save the changes asynchronously, and again copy this, paste it here, results okay, get all heroes. This is the put method. And the last one now, let's just copy that. Oh no, not copy that. Let's just write it. Map delete for the deletion, and this is superhero ID again with async data context and ID. And in here now again we try to get it, so db hero await context superheroes find async. Could extract that as well actually. If db hero is null, who's that? Okay, and then context, let's get some space again, context, yep, remove, that's correct. Await context save changes async, and crap, we copy this, paste it here, and we're done. All right, that's it. So these are all our methods. Let's see if it builds and starts the app. But we've got our minimal get here. We've got the get method for all the superheroes. We've got it for one hero, and the post put and delete. Okay, let's see. Where is it? There it is. Nice. So here is our API. This worked so far. Again, we see our cute little message here. Welcome to the superhero database. Now let's say already we want to create one. Okay. We see the example value here. So this is what this method expects. So let's try this out. And ID is actually not necessary for the database, but let's say we add Peter Parker and this guy is Spider-Man. It executes and this worked. Nice. So there is Peter Parker now. Let's add another one. Tony Stark. And this is Iron Man. It executes. Okay, we got them here. Quick look at the database. We just right click and refresh, execute SQL. There they are. So they are already stored here. How much time? It's half an hour to 40 minutes maybe, and we're already done with creating heroes. And well, if the other methods work as well, then we've got the whole CRUD operations covered. So let's try to get them all. Try it out, and here we see what we expect actually. That's nice. So execute, and we get all our heroes. Isn't that nice? It's just crazy. What about the single hero? So with the ID, try this out. We enter ID 1. That's Peter Parker, correct. ID 2, Tony Stark. Awesome. Now let's update Peter Parker maybe. For that, I copy the object here. Put. Try this out. ID would be 1. Paste it here. We don't need the ID actually, so let's remove this. And now it's Amazing Spider-Man. Hit execute. This worked as well. This is crazy. No error so far. Nice. And now we remove Iron Man, and Peter Parker's the only one left. And we're done. That's it. So I will put this to GitHub, check out the video description for the link, and then we are done with our minimal API. Yes, that's it. It was really short, wasn't it? Well, I think that under an hour, just under an hour, and you have all the CRUD operations. Well, it's a tiny database, just one model, but you've also got SQL Server Express, Entity Framework Core, Code First Migration. So yeah, you can, this is really fast. I don't think that it's really faster or quicker than using the traditional way. Traditional is a great word. We did not think about that. Not typical or old school. The traditional way to build a web API is using controllers and servers and services. Maybe it's a bit quicker, but still, I think the other way is, it feels better. Maybe I'm just used to it and the world changes and everybody is using minimal APIs, but I think that people will use this maybe more often for microservices. Otherwise, they will still use the traditional way with controllers, inject services, inject the data context, and so on there then. Now, I hope you learned something. If so, please click the like button, maybe subscribe to my channel. Don't forget the bell icon to get a notification when a new tutorial is online. Thank you very much for that. Really appreciate it. Again, maybe the newsletter is something for you if you want to get videos like that earlier in your inbox. Get some more information. Sometimes I post some articles about tutorials, online courses, whatever. Then check out the newsletter. And the last thing, again, thank you so much for all the coffee. Really appreciate it. And now, well, maybe I can finally take a nap or even call it a day and yeah, go to bed and sleep the whole night, right? The little guy is not waking up. He's sleeping through this time. Yeah. Thanks a lot for your time. Thanks a lot for watching, and I hope I see you next time. Take care.